Alright, if you're watching right now, we're doing another reaction to MJV Animations. We did already one reaction to them, and honestly, I enjoyed it. The animation, amazing. I loved it. And plus with that, I decided I want to do a second one. So we're doing the three very disturbing true New Year's horror stories animated. I can't wait. So far, from the first impression to react to his channel, I like what I saw. His work, just amazing. So for this one, guys, make sure we give it a like, which we already have given a like. Make sure we subscribe. Also, show love to MJV Animations. And also, this will be coming out today as you're seeing it, which will be on Wednesday. It's a quick. Usually, videos come in like around comes out at 8, but this time it's probably gonna come out like around 9. Nah, probably around 10 or 11, but just fine. Whatever is okay. But let's get right into it though. I really wanna get to this. I've been wanting to react to him again, and I kind of didn't have a chance or didn't give myself a chance to sit here and actually react to it. But I want to do it. Let's just do it right now.
Jason and I were setting up camp at a lookout spot along Lake Ridge Road in northern Montana on New Year's Eve. We'd driven 3 hours into the mountain to get away from the hospital. Both of us worked in emergency medicine, and it was our tradition to trade crowds and noise for silence and stars before we started a fresh year. The forecast said light snow. The road was mostly clear when we started that afternoon, but by the time we reached the turnout around dusk, the storm was getting worse. The sky looked so heavy, one could barely see 50 feet. We probably should have turned back, but we were already there. We'd just gotten out to stretch when I saw someone coming from the trees. At first, I thought maybe a hiker or ranger was checking on people before the storm got worse. But as he got closer, I saw he was limping badly, clutching his left arm. His face was in twisted pain. He collapsed to one knee in the snow about 20 feet from us and started yelling that his wife had fallen off a ridge, was hurt badly, and maybe bleeding out. He begged us to come help. Jason and I didn't even hesitate. Years of training kicked in as Jace grabbed our trauma kit from the
Now, in this kind of scenario where the storm is kind of horrible and we know that it's going badly, we know they're in this camping going on situation, and then somebody just comes to the woods. He's running, he's walking but limping. He yelling, his wife just falling out of this ridge. She's hurt. I need help. Help me right now. I would say best to do in this occasion is call the cops. But due to the weather, they might drag to get there a little bit. But I would say call the cops before you walk in there with this man, and at least report who you're with and what he looks like, because this also could be a trap and a setup. There's been so many times where things like this happen in real life, where somebody comes out, they put their best acting face and they're acting like they need help and somebody's hurt, and then you follow them into the woods, which again, into the woods, and then somehow they go missing and nobody knows what happened. So I mean, I get that their instincts as a paramedic and your skills is always gonna be to help the person in need. When they need help, that's kind of what they train for, to kind of respond and first act. But in the forest, you kind of wanna keep yourself protected also. So I hope they have some kind of weapon on them. They can carry with them as protection, or pepper spray, or any kind of taser. Because I mean, assuming that he's not lying to us, they're gonna go help her. They're gonna go help his wife. That's what we're assuming is gonna happen, right? But stuff like this always happens where the person who's trying to be the person who's trying to help them out and be good ends up being the person who gets played and then gets hurt. But maybe the story hits different. Maybe it does. They just figure out what's going on, or they figure out what happens right now.
trunk while I got blankets and headlamps. In the rush, we forgot to grab our phones.
That's a big no. The one thing you never want to forget to grab is your phone, because not only can your phone be tracked, not only can you make a phone call, not only can you can be in the call 191 as you're walking and trying to figure out what's going on with a woman. Now you can't do any of that, and it puts you in a spot that if you were to be in trouble, there's no way they could track you anywhere at all, other than where your car is gonna be located. Which still gives them a heads up of where you're at, so it's kind of like a good spot, but it's still Not clear if you'll still be there. If they might move you to a different spot. I guess this is still assuming that he doesn't need help and he's playing them, right? But who knows, right? Who knows?
The man kept saying his wife was dying, that it was close, and that we must hurry. We followed him into a narrow trail, cutting between thick pines. The snow muffled everything except our breathing and boots. We walked about 5 minutes, heading deeper into the woods. That's when I started noticing how the man's limp was changing. It had been dramatic when he first approached us.
No.
Now it was barely there. And the usual panic and urgency of a person whose wife was almost dying was very obviously missing. Instead, he was just walking and glancing back occasionally to make sure we were following. I whispered to Jace that something felt off. He nodded, but kept moving. If there really was.
Now, why would you keep walking deeper, deeper into the woods while you just notice that this man is no longer limping and he no longer is worried for his wife? Like, as soon as you click in and something is wrong, you should have turned around and ran back, connected to your car, get in there, lock the doors, drive away. That's all you have to do. There's no point. Like, say his wife is still in danger and he just no longer is worried. As soon as you have that gut feeling, if something is off, you should follow that gut feeling and get out of there. That's just the first thing you should have done. As soon as you notice, okay, this feels really off. We're walking into the woods deeper and deeper. Now, all of a sudden, he's walking normally. All of a sudden, he's not worried for his wife. He's not panicking as he was when he came to us. Like, that's already a red flag. Like, already telling me that he is faking and we should get out of here. The fact that they're still walking more into the woods is kind of you being an idiot. And it's just facts, it's just you being an idiot. Because it's like, that just tells me that I should get the other way. My instincts of survival was telling me go the other way. And that's what I'm going to do. If his wife is really injured and then let's say he just come down because we're here with him, well then that's my fault, but also on him. But I'm not gonna follow him more deep in the woods when he just now went back to like kind of acting normal, if that's even a way you can call it.
Someone injured. We couldn't risk not helping. But just as we took a steep turn towards the denser side, two men stepped out from behind a large boulder.
No, yep.
They were dressed in heavy furs and had their faces covered. One had a rifle slung over his shoulder. The other was holding a metal pipe with a flashlight duct taped to it. The limping man dropped the act immediately. He straightened up and shook out his arm like he'd been holding it stiff for too long as he stepped back toward the other two. My stomach dropped. Jace went rigid beside me. The man with the rifle told us to hand over everything we were carrying. His voice was flat, almost bored, like he'd done this before. Jace quietly handed over his wallet, his watch, and the chain he was wearing. I handed over my possessions too. They asked for our phones. We told them we'd forgotten them in our car. They asked Jace to pass the keys over. Jace slowly opened his palm, but right before the guy with the rifle could snatch it, Jace fumbled and dropped them into the snow. Sensing his plan, I took tiny steps back and waited. Just as the man bent down to pick them up, Jace elbowed him in the ribs and yelled at me to run as he himself took off in the opposite direction.
That's good. That's good, but very risky. That's good because but that little knee kick would take a bit of air of his body, so you got time to actually run. But he still has a rifle, you know. But I guess depends on how far you get. Maybe the range might save you. But I hope they're not running straight, because running straight in a line, you can still get shot. You kind of want to go zigzag. Go just go zigzag. The way you're running, and then switch it afterwards, because then the pattern you can catch it. You can figure the pattern afterwards, and then that avoids kind of like a lower chance that the bullet is gonna hit you because they can't tell where you're gonna be directly on time. You have to have good reflexes on that. And you kind of got time the time you shoot that bullet for it to hit the time. But you never want to run in a straight line, especially if it's a firearm. But let's hopefully they get away. I'm assuming, but the reason we're hearing this story is because they got away or they made it alive. I'm assuming.
I bolted. Behind me, gunshots cracked. Something hit the snow to my left, but I didn't stop. I kept running and slipping. The branches whipped my face, and cold burned in my lungs. I heard them behind me, but the storm was getting worse, and the visibility was dropping. I didn't know where I was going, just downhill toward where the road might be. My legs were burning. My hands were numb. I'd lost a glove and couldn't feel my fingers. I kept running and thinking about Jace, whether he'd made it or they'd gone after him instead. Then, through the trees, I saw the yellow lights. A snowplow was grinding up the main road. I crashed out of the woods onto the shoulder, waving both arms, and screamed. The driver hit the brakes hard. He pulled me into the cab and asked what happened. I tried to explain, but my teeth were chattering so hard I could barely talk. He called it in and drove me to where the rescue teams could meet us. I sat in the back of an ambulance for what felt like hours. I couldn't stop shaking and kept asking about Jace. Nobody knew anything. They wrapped me in blankets and checked me for frostbite. My fingers were turning white at the tips. They found Jace about 2 hours later. He'd managed to circle back toward the road on his own, bruised and shaken, but alive. He said he'd lost them in the thicker part of the woods and heard them searching for a while before they finally gave up. When I saw him walking toward me, I started crying. By the time the police got to the turnout, our car was gone. The snow had filled every footprint and tire track. The officers said they'd notified nearby stations, but I saw it in their faces. They weren't going to find those men, or our vehicle. A ranger told me a few weeks later that there had been other disappearances along that ridge. But the cases went nowhere because the Montana wilderness in winter is huge, and it's easy to vanish if you know how. I kept thinking about what would have happened if only one of us had gone to help. I'm 29.
But didn't the phone stay in the car? So even though the three guys who were there took the car, couldn't the cop just trace the phone? Like, they said we left their phones in the car when when the robbers were asking to give them all the stuff they have on them, and they asked for the phones. So wouldn't like the big brain be like, officer, my phone is in the car and it should still be on. Maybe you can track my number and get a location where my car is at, And then they would have just followed the location of where they dropped the phone at or where the phone would be. I would assume because they never found the phone on the floor, so that means they might have taken it. So I mean, I'm not the smartest one in the room, but common sense does hit that. Why not just track the phone's location? The cops can do that. They can just trace the phone number and figure the location where it's at, and where if it's still moving and active, and if it is, then that's your way to catch them. I would assume that way the way you would go, but I guess they forgot they had a phone in the car. I don't know.
Now, that was 3 years ago. I still work in emergency medicine, but I don't go camping anymore. Don't drive mountain roads in winter. And when someone comes into the ER with an urgent story about a family member who needs help, I call security first.
That part. Yep. There you go. We're learning. We're learning from our mistakes.
Riley and I were driving through the mountains of West Virginia on New Year's Eve, heading to my grandmother's cabin, farther up that ridge. She lived alone up there, and we promised to spend the holiday with her. The forecast called for light flurries, but anyone who's driven the mountain roads knows the weather does what it wants when you get into the higher elevation.
Facts.
We left around 8 that evening. By 11, we were deep into the mountains, where the trees pressed close to the road and houses disappeared completely. Snow was falling steadily, the kind that sticks to everything and makes the world go quiet. Riley had been working doubles all week and could barely keep her eyes open. She asked if we could pull over so she could rest. I told her to climb.
Why don't she just rest when she's in the car? Like, what do we gotta pull over in the middle of the woods in the big snowy snow where there's no houses anymore? There's no lights to hear you if you had a problem. Like, cause she's the passenger, so just get the button in the seat, move it back, and then just go back, relax yourself, and then just go to sleep. That's why are we both of us stopping when you're the one tired? They just It makes no sense. It's just I think it's best if she just goes to sleep in the car as she's driving, and by the time she wakes up, maybe switch. That maybe the driver gets to sleep, and then you get to drive, and then just make sure you guys keep it safe because it is snowing. I wouldn't stop directly just so you to sleep when you could do that while I'm driving.
in the back. She was out within seconds, curled up
Oh,
under
hold
the
up.
blanket. Riley slept like the dead.
I want to hear what she said. Hold on.
Out within pull over so she could and could barely keep her eyes open. She asked if we could pull over so she could rest. I told her to climb in the back. She was out within seconds,
That too?
curled
Yeah,
up under her
that
blanket.
too.
Riley slept like the dead. As I kept driving, the snow got
Okay.
heavier, turning into ice pellets that tapped against the windshield. My headlights could barely cut through the white ahead. Suddenly, the car jolted, like I'd rolled
Ooh.
over something on the road. The dashboard lights flickered. The engine sputtered twice before it died, and everything went pitch dark. I groaned and
Oh.
tried the ignition, but it whined and died over and over. My phone showed 3% and barely 1 bar of signal.
Oh my. Nope.
Outside,
Yeah.
the road stretched empty in both directions.
I think the best thing to do, especially in a bad weather temperature, or at least when it's like back to snowing, where it's like that winter kind of season. The most important thing is keep your phone charged. Now, if your phone doesn't get keep charged, at least keep a what do they call it, a battery bank. Like it's like this portable. What is it? How do you explain it? It's kind of like this. What I have one here, or one similar. See, it's kind of like this. Or this is a solar one. This is different, right? You know what I mean? Like you could charge your phone. What is that light? But you could charge your phone. So you just keep this baby charged, and then you plug in your USB cable, and then you plug into your phone, and then you just leave it charged, and that's you do. Obviously, the one I have is kind of like a bit. I guess you could say more like advanced. I guess because it comes with a compass. If you get lost, I don't know how much helpful that is. It comes with lights, and then it's just solar. So you could charge it with the sun, or you could charge it with the charger. Either one doesn't really matter. But like this is like an idea on I'm telling you. There's other ones that are just more basic. You just charge them, and then that or plug it in the car. Also an option. I would not be driving with my phone at 2% without plugging it somehow because I would like to check the time it is, and then obviously the car tells you the time. Well, it depends on how advanced your car is. It should give you the time and stuff like that. But I still want to have my phone as an option. But yeah, in this kind of situation, you're kind of cooked. So this is where you wanna hopefully find. I mean, if the car stop working after you hit that bump, honestly, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, you may unless you have a scanner for the car to scan and see what may be the cost of it. I mean, I guess you can't because the car's off, right? It won't turn on. Yeah, I mean, no, you kind of could, yeah. So you better, I guess, dial 911 and hopefully give them your location and your car, how it looks, and what you look like and what you're wearing, and hopefully they get on time. I guess.
I squinted but couldn't see any shed visible anywhere. I got out into the freezing air and popped the hood, used my phone's flashlight, and looked at the wiring, even though I didn't really know what I was looking for. The cold bit through my jacket immediately. The storm muffled everything. Even the trees seemed to lean in closer. I was contemplating waking up Riley when I saw the headlights approaching from behind.
Let's
A
hope
dark
this is good.
SUV rolled to a stop about 20 feet back, and a man got out. He was big, maybe in his 40s, wearing a thick jacket and work gloves. He walked up with his casual, friendly expression, but something about him felt wrong.
Let's hope this guy is actually gonna help us out. Let's not judge him based on his appearance, okay? But two ways: either he's gonna help us out, he happens to just be passing by the same area we're passing, or two, he planted that thing in the floor, which is what messed up with your car, and he's probably gonna try to rob you, and yeah, rob you. Hopefully not. You know, get rid of you. You know, but let's hope he's here for good. Okay, we're gonna hope on that. We're gonna cross our fingers, and hopefully this one's a good one.
His eyes were too alert, like he'd been expecting to find someone out here. He asked if I was okay and said the road was a graveyard tonight. His voice was warm enough, but there was something weird about it. I explained that my car had just died. He came over and leaned in under the hood next to me and peered at the engine. It smelled like cigarettes and something sour. He said the battery was cooked and the engine was too far gone to fix. Said I'd freeze if I stayed and suggested I come with him to the next town and figure the rest out once the storm passed. I thanked him and lied about already having a tow truck on the way. He insisted no tow truck would make it through and that it was getting colder. I turned back to the engine, trying to look busy, trying not to show how scared I was. I thought maybe he'd take a hint and go away. Instead, he stepped closer. His voice dropped lower, almost bored now, like he was tired of pretending. He said I was getting in his car whether I wanted to or not.
Oh, okay. That's a big no no. Like, we're not doing that here. Hopefully, she got pepper spray on herself. I'm gonna assume she doesn't, right? And I still want to know what was it that he put on the road. Like, what was it that messed up the car? I still don't. I'm confused. You know, the car is driving normally, hit this little bump like something she ran over something, and then it just kind of like that out slowly. Like, what kind of technology that he had in that floor that kind of like just messed the car up? Because I don't see how the car can just die. Unless she ran out of gas, and she don't know she ran out of gas. But I still want to know what did she hit or what did he put in the road that made the car just turn off on his own. You know. But as you see, he's grabbing her, so he's about to pull her to the car. Or let's go back.
He said I was getting in his car whether I wanted to or not. Then he grabbed my arm. I jerked back and tried to yell, but he clamped his hand over my mouth and shoved me hard against the side of my car. My phone fell into the snow. I could feel his breath on my face. He was saying something about not making this difficult, about how far we were from anyone who could help. Somehow, I bit into his palm and screamed
Yeah.
out his name before he clamped my mouth shut again.
If he doesn't know she's in the car, I think your best option is to just keep quiet. You know. At this point, unless you have a pepper spray or karate or some kind of martial arts here, you are not gonna make it out of there. This guy seems like he's big dude, so you're definitely not gonna fight him off unless you got skills. Then okay, and you don't even have pepper spray either. So that's a bad thing. And third, you're in the middle of nowhere, so you could run away and hopefully in the woods lose him, but you could also just die out of the coldness. Now, if he's in aware that she's in the car, I would say just stay quiet because what's gonna happen is she's gonna wake up, look up, scream. He saw her. He's gonna take you first in the car, probably knock you out conscious, come back for her, and take both of you. In this case, if you stay quiet, he takes you. She can still make it out, and hopefully, you know. I guess it's still gonna be no, yeah. I was trying to think of a positive way how she could just survive and get the cops and hopefully they find her. But I mean, if she's asleep and she don't know what happened, then she will never even know she got taken. So no, yeah. I guess it's a dog game. So I might as well just go together at this point. I had a good idea on top of my head, but as soon as I was just saying it and I started thinking of what I was gonna say, it was not as a great idea as I was thinking. So it's probably just best to leave it halfway.
That's what woke Riley up. I heard the back door fly open, Riley shouting his name, confused and half asleep, but alert enough to know something was wrong. The man froze. His hand was still over my mouth, but he'd gone
Bite it.
completely still. He hadn't known anyone else was in the car.
That part. The problem is you don't have any tools in the car, and they're probably in the back of your trunk. So unless you have some kind of tool, maybe if you have the tool to clean the car windows from the snow, the brush, get that out. Maybe whack him with that. That still cause damage. But I mean, technically she could be the saver at the moment. She could be the saver and somehow have a weapon and defend us here. But she's halfway asleep, has no idea what's going on. Get out of the car in the cold weather. So I don't see this being positive here. But we'll see what happens, right? Let's see. Maybe she's a bit more smarter than she kind of looks, right? Let's see this.
Riley scrambled out, still tangled in the blanket, yelling
Okay.
louder now. The man let go of me like I'd burned him. He backed up, his eyes moving fast between Riley and me.
Okay.
I could see it on his face. Two people meant witnesses. He wouldn't want to take the risk. He didn't say anything else, just turned and ran back to his SUV, got in, and peeled out into the icy road, his taillights disappearing into the snow within seconds. Riley helped me back to the car.
I guess good idea. She yelled her name out. I mean, I don't know why even leave at this point. Like, okay, this is my mindset. If I was the guy, right? You made it this far, and to get the car to stop running, to take this woman, or you have the woman in your hand to be able to take, and then she yells out her name. Somebody gets out the car, and it's another woman, and then you realize, oh crap, there's two of them. I gotta get out of here because now there's somebody see my face. But why would I leave if they see my face? Why not just take both of them? Because the way it's being portrayed, this dude is like a big dude, right? Why not just take both at this point? And. But in the good way of saying this, they made it alive. They made it alive, and that's good. I just don't see why he would just go away because she just saw his face, and she has a clear detail of his face. She's probably not gonna forget it because she's right now freaked out. The journalist is gonna kick in right now, and then her friend Riley, I believe was the name. She also sees the face of the guy too, so they can still identify the guy and give to the sketch artist in the police station, and they can still get the guy. So it's like technically he screwed himself over. That's what I'm trying to say, because he would have weight and then didn't do the rest of the part. But the problem is they still gotta fix the car though, because they're in the snow weather, so they're gonna start to get cold, and the bar start feeling like freezing.
My cheek was already swelling where he'd shoved me. My hands were shaking. Riley called 911. The police took nearly
She
an
had a
hour to
phone.
arrive.
About
I
time,
searched
yeah,
the
she had a
road with
phone.
flashlights, but the snow had covered everything. I described everything I remembered about
Yeah,
him and his car. One of the officers told me that this wasn't the first report like this on New Year's week. Said there had been others over the years. He said the man knew these roads, when to wait, and how to pick his targets. It took me a while to understand what had saved me. The man had thought I was alone. He watched me get out of my car by myself,
yeah,
watched me struggle with the hood. He assumed I was isolated, vulnerable, and easy.
yeah,
But Riley had been there the whole time, sleeping in the back seat. He hadn't seen her, hadn't known. And the moment he realized I wasn't alone, he ran. I survived because I had company.
yep. Riley,
23 now.
Riley
That
came
was two
through.
years ago. I don't drive mountain roads at night anymore.
That's good.
Can't do it. Even with other people in the car, my hands start shaking the moment the sun goes down and the trees close in. Riley and I don't talk about it much. She feels guilty sometimes for not staying awake. I tell her that's stupid. She saved my life by being
Yeah,
here.
she
And
did.
sometimes,
Yeah,
late at night, I think about him and all the other women on those roads. The ones who were actually alone and didn't make it to their grandmother's house.
that part.
It was New
Yeah,
Year's Eve, 2019. I was driving home from a late shift at the wildlife rehab center where I worked. My only company for the drive was Bax, my Australian Kelpie, who usually rode in the back seat pretty quietly. The route I took was County Road 314. It cut through miles of dormant almond orchards where most of the farm workers had gone home for winter. The night was unusually still, with no wind or traffic except for my headlights and the dark shapes of trees on either side. About halfway into the trip, Bax started whining. At first, I thought he just wanted attention, but he stood up and started pacing in the back seat. I realized he needed to pee. Found a break in the
okay.
orchard rows, pulled over, and left the engine running with the headlights on. The air was cold and damp when I stepped out. I opened the back door, and Bax jumped out, sniffing around the edge of the trees. He didn't wander far until I heard a loud crash echoed from somewhere in the woods. It was heavy and deliberate, like someone moving through the trees. Before I could react, Bax bolted straight into the orchard and disappeared within seconds. I yelled his
No.
name over and over, but there was no sight of him. My heart started pounding. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and went after him. The beam barely cut through the
Bad idea.
darkness. I kept calling his name and kept moving deeper between the rows. I was moving through a narrow clearing when my foot suddenly dropped into nothing. I fell forward hard, landing in a shallow pit about 2 feet deep. My phone flew out of my hand, and the flashlight beam spun wildly before landing face down in the dirt. The pit was maybe 4 feet across, worn smooth at the edges like vehicles had been driving over the spot repeatedly. I could feel the tire ruts carved into the packed earth. That's when I heard the voices, coming from somewhere close by. A blunt, wet thud through the trees, followed by a muffled groan.
What is that?
My blood went cold. I grabbed my phone and killed the flashlight. I scrambled out of the pit and crawled to the nearest tree, pressing myself flat against the trunk. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Bax appeared beside me with his body low and tail tucked. He was trembling. I'd never seen him like that before. A few rows away,
I would say pick the dog up. Pick him up. Once you pick him up, go the other way back to your car. Get in the car, drive away. The car is already on. So all you gotta do is just get in the car, open the door, get in, drive. That's it. We don't even know what's going on here. Now, we see here 3 people and they're making another hole for her some reason. And at first I thought she fall. I guess what they're doing is making holes to bury people. I would assume because when she fall forward, in order for that thing to be deep, is you have to obviously remove the dirt. It doesn't just come up like that. That's why I found it weird. She was running, she just fall forward. How? But just pick the dog up, and then just go back to your car. That's the only way out of here. Don't make no noise. Don't make anything. Just go the other way as they're busy.
the voices rose. They were business-like laborers at work. I heard shovels scraping dirt and plastic rustling. One of them said something that made my stomach drop. He told the others to bury the body carefully. I
Yep.
needed to leave, needed to get back to my car and drive away as fast as possible.
Exactly.
When I reached down to grab Bax,
I thought the dog was gonna make a noise, but she actually made a noise by hitting the what? She hit the branch. It was a stick, I guess.
to my car and drive away as fast as possible. When I reached down to grab Bax, my hand touched the ground and resulted in a snap. Suddenly, those men stopped talking. One of them whistled. Another answered from a different direction. They'd heard me. They know someone's in here watching them. I scooped Bax into my arms and
Yes.
started
Go
moving,
go 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 fast fast.
but trying to stay quiet. I was trying not to snap branches anymore or breathe too loud. The footsteps behind me got louder. They were spreading out and moving through the orchard in a line. I broke into a run, dodging between trees and clutching Bax against my chest. When I reached the edge, I could see my car through the branches.
Yes.
The
Go
headlights
go go.
were still glowing, but as I got closer, I spotted movement near the driver's door. A man was leaning against the hood, smoking.
Yeah.
For me. My keys were in my pocket. There was no way to get in without him seeing me. Behind me, the footsteps got closer. I was boxed in. I made a split-second decision. Instead of going for the car, I veered hard left and ran parallel to the road. The man by the car shouted something into the orchard, and the formation shifted. They were herding me. I ran until my lungs screamed and until my legs felt like they'd give out. I spotted a small concrete irrigation.
I hope she's not gonna walk into that. For all we know, this could be something like that could be this could be their location to like hide in, you know. And it's dark. You don't know who's in there. You don't know what's in there. That's like a. I mean, and a scenario like this is a good idea to hide, but it's a bad idea if they can just close the door right at you and then you're locked in there. You know. But I mean,
Half buried in the weeds. I ducked inside and pulled Bax down with me, pressing my hand over his muzzle to keep him quiet. Flashlight beams swept past
I
the
mean, it worked.
blankets.
It
Ropes
worked.
crunched on gravel just outside. A radio crackled, and one of them said they'd lost visual. I stayed frozen and didn't move. Minutes stretched on forever, but eventually, it got quiet again. I waited another 20 minutes before I even tried to move. When I finally crept back toward the road, my car was still there, but the driver's side window was smashed, with glass everywhere. They even shattered my headlights. I got in with shaky hands, started the car, and drove without headlights on down the dark road. It was risky, but at least I was away from those men.
Yes,
I drove
correct.
5 miles before I stopped to check Bax again. He was shaking in terror. I got home around 1 in the morning. My dad was still up, waiting. He asked why I was so late, and I told him traffic had been bad. He looked at me like he knew I was lying, but he didn't push it. A few days later, I mentioned what happened that night to someone I trusted in the sheriff's department, off the record. They told me that area was a known route for things being done. I was better off not knowing. They said reporting anything publicly would put me and my dad at risk, and
Yeah.
advised to forget I was ever on County Road 314.
Yes and yes, because if you make it go public and your name comes out, that puts you on a target for your father, and then they figure out that you're the one in there. But then if you don't make a big deal of this, there's other people who are being buried. There's people who are being killed and buried. We seen that they bury a body, so you can kind of, I guess, say you could be the good person and report this and make a case on this, but then it could still backfire where you could become one of the victims in that, you know. So I don't know. I guess just mind your business and forget you were there. I guess in that case, for your safety, So that tells you already the sheriffs they're aware of what's going on there, but they can't do anything about it for some reason. 'Cause, I mean, if they know things happen there, why don't they just wait there? Like in a what's it called? Like a skid? No, not a skid. What do you call it? Like what do they ambush them? Like set up a car somewhere there. Get people around in the woods. Just waiting to see anything until you see them, and wait till you see them have a body or something that might look like a body, and then just go right at them, apprehend them, arrest them, and then you got them right there. But I guess just forget about it.
That night, and advised to forget I was ever on County Road 314 that night. I didn't sleep for weeks after that. How could I, when I knew I came seconds close to disappearing, dead, or worse, because I stopped at the wrong place at the wrong time?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but those three stories were amazing. Like all these three stories we heard are actually stuff that happened to somebody at some point, and it's kind of sucks somebody had to go through this or somebody had to be a victim of this, you know. But life just life is just like that. Things happen. Good things, bad things happen. You can really can't control what's gonna happen and what might be next for you. You can control the decisions that may drive you there or might keep you away from being there. But although the animation was 9 out of 10, storytelling, great job. His voice that he's narrating the person's perspective, how he's giving us the visuals and animated, how what's going on and what was the process to each step of what the character was going to or the person of the character. All I have to say is there's no words to say how great this was. Stories are chilling and terrifying to think of, and even put yourself in the shoes of that person. But the animation to narrate this is done well done. It just 10 out of 10. It's just amazing. But alright, guys, this will be it for this reaction. We would do more MG AMG. Blah, 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 sorry, can't speak. We would do more of MJV animations coming forward because I do like his animations and I do like his narrations as to the stories, and they're kind of terrifying to think of. Like this is stuff that you think of in real life and it's terrifying. So, thank you guys for being here, guys. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys check out our shorts. We're doing shorts of some of the stories so you guys can see there. Yeah, thank you guys for being here, and I'm out of here.